Hi, I'm Rose Collingridge, finalist for Miss Universe Great Britain, and you are watching the Pageants and PJs podcast.
Hello, everyone not watching Love Island. Welcome to Pageants and PJs episode. I want to say it's 80. Wow, 80. We're old. Our special guest for tonight is a familiar face, Emma Rose Collingridge. Emma, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I was going to say I'm good, but then we're in lockdown again. The army is out and about, and it's getting worse. So aside from that, let's go around the room and catch up with everyone. I'll go around to our hosts first. So we've got Chloe as usual. Giselle is subbing in for a certain Miss Latimer who is judging Miss Diamond, I believe. So Giselle, when you were subbing in for Chloe, you tried your Irish accent and you went around South Africa telling everyone we bum rather than
I'm sorry, Chloe. I tried.
So,
I love
Giselle,
it.
tonight, would you like to try to do Danielle's accent, or would you rather just speak in your native accent?
I think I embarrassed myself enough today. It was so bad. So I think just to spare myself even further embarrassment, let's just keep it. South Africans are unique. We're awesome. So I'll keep by that
Probably
native.
my favorite accent, South African. I love it. It's so cute.
Me too.
Oh, I'm so glad. Somebody, I think.
You can't let Giselle easy. She said that.
Is that happening for you as well?
Yeah.
At least it's not my internet this time. I'm taking no blame for whatever's going on.
It was my fault that time. Giselle, you said you had an embarrassing story. Quick, you have to tell us the embarrassing story.
No, I'm so scared the guy that's involved isn't going to watch this.
What did you do? Come on.
Oh, I feel, it would have not been embarrassing if he wasn't embarrassed. So I felt the need to be embarrassed. And that was just the whole thing. Oh, you're going to make me tell it?
I feel like we need context now.
You can hide the details if you want to, if you need to protect people's privacy. But give us a general gist. What did you do?
So I'm on set today, and the one photographer, I have worked with him before, and even that time I was like, this is a good-looking guy. He has manners. That's rare to find, and I think he was engaged at that time. And then today, because I saw on social media they're not together, so I think he looked. That's in I definitely did not read that situation correctly. Oh my goodness, no.
I've never seen Giselle so flustered in her life. Did you try like flirting?
No, I did it very subtly. I went to the videographer because they're friends, and I asked if he was single. Just for interest's sake, and he said no.
Just casual conversation.
Yeah, it's just casual. So that's what I said. It wasn't a big deal. And then I didn't know this videographer is not going to wait until I left, until he told the guy that I actually asked. And this poor guy was so embarrassed. Blood red from across the room. I could see it. He's giggling. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to stand, what. And then I got embarrassed, and it was just like a whole thing. That was not supposed to be a thing.
I don't understand that at all. I can understand you being embarrassed. Why would he be embarrassed? You got a pretty girl asking whether you're single. That's a good thing. Why on earth was he embarrassed?
I agree. He's a lucky guy
100%,
for you to even
exactly.
Oh, God. Making
I
me
don't
feel better.
understand that at all.
have.
I can understand why you would be embarrassed. I don't understand why he would be embarrassed. It's just weird. Maybe he didn't turn blood red. Maybe there was strange lighting on your set or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Could
you
be.
can see that there are some things that do fluster an international pageant queen. Her poor attempts at flirting obviously being one. So that's what Giselle
So
has
bad
been
at
doing
flirting.
since she was
Me
last
too.
on, hitting on strangers. Chloe, what
Oh, yes.
have you been up to since we were on last week?
No flirting, but what I have been doing is finishing up at work. I finished up on Friday and handed in my computer, and it's off to new beginnings. The next few weeks are going to be crazy. I'm going to London this weekend. I'm actually going to Belfast tomorrow to visit my friend. We're staying the night. We're going to a sushi restaurant, possibly a rooftop bar after. Then I'm going to London this weekend, and then just like lots of stuff in the next few weeks. Then I'll be moving to Belfast and new beginnings. Got a new coffee machine to take up with me. It looks like a little duck. It's so cute. And yeah, just positive vibes, fresh beginnings, like leaving that BT life behind and starting fresh.
Are you going to miss? I'm assuming you probably won't miss the job so much, but will you be leaving some people behind, like some good people behind?
Yeah, I met some incredible people in that job. Everybody was so lovely, and it's a tough job. And it's one thing that really makes you realize as well. I think whenever you're young, you're a teenager, and you see people leave school and they get jobs in places in a call center environment, and you think, wow, that's a handy, cushy job, taking a few calls a day. But it is generally mentally exhausting to the point where, you know, you're having complaints a lot. Your job is basically being a complaint handler. So like when 9 to 5, you know, 5 days a week, you're constantly getting shouted at and abused. It takes toll on your mental health. And I really respect people who stay in that kind of job for a long time. And it takes a special kind of person to be able to stick it out. I know I wasn't able to stick it out. It was great for me for the last few months to be able to save before going back to do my master's. But see people who are in those positions, those job roles, you really have to respect them. And next time you pick up the phone, doesn't matter how badly the company has messed up, don't take it out on the individual. If anything, it just makes you think twice before you speak. And not that I'm always kind to everyone anyway, but it just really opens your eyes a lot more that, you know, you could be speaking to someone's daughter, mother, friend. Just always be kind to everyone because it's a mentally exhausting job. And I'm glad
I think you
that
are kind to everyone. I can't imagine you not being kind.
Yeah.
Well done on making it through. That's certainly a job that I wouldn't want to do. I'm not sure that I'd want to put up with it if it was crushing my spirit either. So
yeah.
Well done. Moving on. That computer you gave in, was that the one that was infected by bananas?
Oh no, that's the one I'm on now. But funny story, I actually ordered a new computer today. I ordered a new MacBook to start uni, and I pick it up on Wednesday in Belfast. So I'm super excited to get a nice fancy computer. And yeah, hopefully I'll be less of me cutting out during the podcast in the future.
No more bananas.
No more banana pop-ups. That was weird. Yeah.
Emma
You
is
had
just, I
banana-
can see in her, well, I think Giselle's about to vocalize this, but Emma's face is, she's not saying anything, but you can see the confusion on her, like,
No,
it was ask or not.
It was just actual bananas, like fruit. Yeah, it was just weird pop-ups. Yeah, strange.
The computer, we think, had a virus. So randomly, whilst we'd be on the podcast, Chloe would stop talking. She's like, so I've got to get rid of the banana pop-ups. And every time she'd be speaking to us, like, bananas would just pop up.
Yeah.
But, like, you never know with Chloe whether she's being literal or what's going on. Like, how many times, Chloe, has your ring light fallen on you during these podcasts?
Yeah. I have to keep it. It's like 2 meters away at the moment because I can't risk it anymore. I used to have two. You see, I used to have a close-up one and then the big one. Now I just run off the big one because I'm not being attacked anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm fed up of being abused by my ring light.
It's an
days
ongoing
are
thing.
over.
I think it's fallen on her at least 3 times during filming. Just she'll be talking, then randomly the ring light just goes bang, and she's holding it underneath, trying to fix it and hoping no one notices. Of course, everyone does.
Everybody noticed. But you did it so gracefully. You handle it so gracefully, Chloe. So I have to applaud you for that. And also, I'm super curious. If you get banana pop-ups, what are you Googling? Is pop-ups what you Google? I was thinking
really
prawns. The last time we were like arguing about prawns and shrimp. So I'd rather think prawn pop-ups.
I think that's what it is, because I'm always Googling food on the podcast, because we always end up having a discussion and then I always want the answer. So I always like pop to Google.
It's not so much a discussion. It's more of an argument.
A debate,
You got really worked up about BAPs. So, Emma, do you call
It is a
bread rolls
BAP.
bread rolls? Are they
It's not a
BAPs?
roll.
What do you
A
call
roll is a
Chloe,
Bread
we know where you
rolls for
stand.
me.
a roll you have
Emma's
to slice
calling
down the
it
middle.
bread
It's hard
roll.
and crispy.
What's that?
Emma
What's a
doesn't
BAP
know.
then?
A BAP is like a flour, like BAP
Flour.
that you open. It's like a burger BAP, like a BAP, but like
Oh no,
you put butter
I'd
in
still
it.
call that a roll, I think.
No, a roll is like a hard, crispy. You have to slice it down the middle type thing.
So it's a wrap.
No, it's like a crispy roll.
See,
What do
I
you call a
told
crispy
you,
roll?
I would call it a bread roll. In fact, in Australia, now that I think it's quite funny, we call it a crusty bread roll. I just realized it's funny because it's not crusty. But yeah, crusty because it's crusty on the outside. So a crusty bread roll. If I went to a local baker here and asked for a BAP, they probably wouldn't know what it means. Bread roll, they would. Emma, do you call it Primark or Primark?
Primark.
Oh,
Okay.
I feel
So
like
you
this is
can- you
going to
can
cause
just-
some divide.
You can just exactly. This is why it's hilarious. It's a quintessential British quality. It's like arguing passionately about things that do not matter.
don't matter.
Exactly.
Is
Emma,
it like
scone?
the butter with the cream
That's
that
what
you
I'm
guys
going to
talking
ask.
about?
Yeah. So Emma, the with scones, cream on first or jam on first?
So my boyfriend's from Devon and they do it the cream as a butter and then jam, but my grandma's from Cornwall, so we were always taught growing up that you put the jam on and then the cream around it.
Mhm.
So it's a
Okay.
bit, it depends what part of the country I'm in.
So you're hedging your bets, are you? You got to pick a side. Which one's right, Emma? Here we go. Let's put you on the spot.
Don't fall for the trap.
Which one's right?
Don't fall for it.
There is no
Giselle,
right
stop
way.
ruining my fun.
I actually
Yes,
know the
there is.
perfect. I know the perfect way, and it's the only way. Ditch your
Yes.
normal scone. Ditch your jam. Get a banoffee scone with just cream. No, sack the jam. We don't want the jam. Banoffee scone, cream. That's it.
What's
That sounds
banoffee?
good.
Like it's like banana and like toffee, like
Toffee.
mixed. There's like this really cute place in Derry that
Oh.
does banoffee scones. So yeah, ditch the jam, ditch the plain scone, just go banoffee, get some cream.
Oh, so the scone
Amazing.
itself has flavor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That sounds actually that almost sounds like the hot cross buns we have here. They're like choc chip and things like that, and they do taste good. So
Yeah.
wouldn't be a Monday night if we weren't arguing about food, what to call it, and other things like that. Emma, what have you been? Emma, do you miss Australia at all? You've probably seen how we're dealing with COVID and Corona, and you literally were here right before this whole nonsense pandemic. I'm not saying the pandemic's nonsense. I'm just saying I'm sick of it. You were here literally right before it started. I was in the UK probably. If I'd been there days later, I would still be in the UK to this day because I would have been stuck. Do you miss Australia at all?
Yes, definitely. My trip, by the way, like I could not have timed that better. And I always joked with Alicia afterwards that, oh, had I have stayed a couple more weeks, I would have been quarantining in sunny Australia. No, I
I'm
do
sure you would have
definitely miss
hated that.
I definitely do miss Australia and all the people that I stayed with and met while I was out there. But no, I think the pandemic's definitely still affecting everywhere, isn't it, really? I know in the UK we've now got a lot less restrictions, but there's still the constant kind of worry, and the cases are on the rise again. So
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys, your cases, I think your government's decided to live with it. I think it's officially given up trying to get it down to zero, which with Delta being as that's a strain that we have here, with Delta being as contagious as it is, I think that's the only way to go. I don't think there's been any country that's got a Delta 8 outbreak down to zero. And I think UK is like 50,000 new cases a day or something. It's like in the tens of thousands. And you guys are living with it, which by contrast in Australia, I'm going to say only in inverted commas, but we've only got hundreds of new cases a day, and we're still trying to eliminate it. So it's a little bit confusing from my perspective. Well, it's interesting to look how the different governments are trying to deal with it. I think your government's just gone, let's live with it and hope for the best. Does anyone know how the UK health system is actually dealing with the number of cases? Is it okay, or is it being flooded?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest. I've been deliberately trying not to look at the news with regards to COVID, because it just got to a point where it was just kind of far too stressful and depressing. And then my mum works in a hospital, so our hospital, I don't think, are suffering too badly with cases, but there are still wards dedicated to COVID patients.
Okay, all right, that's good. Have you had your jab, Emma?
I've had my first one. I'm waiting to have my second one.
How did that go?
You know, I'm terrified of needles, right?
This is why last time. So for Chloe and Giselle, for context, Emma is so terrified of needles they had to tie her down one time, and she hid under the blankets.
No.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I'm really bad. My boyfriend even came down here to stay with me so that he could come with me, but unfortunately he had like a spout of food poisoning, so he then couldn't go. But no, I was crying as soon as I walked in the door, but fortunately I had an amazing nurse. She was so lovely. She was also called Emma, and she was like, yeah, next time for your next jab, just ask for me and I'll do your second one, which I might have to do.
So it was relatively smooth, apart from the tears on the way in.
Yeah, and other than like a bit of a sore arm, I didn't have any side effects or anything, which was quite good. But I think, no, I don't know what it is about needles. I think it's just the thought of it, because afterwards I'm like absolutely fine. But yeah, I need to work on that, I think.
So they didn't have to tie you down or chase you around the hospital or tranquilize you with a trank dart and then...
Oh, no exciting bit.
Not this time.
Okay, so you've had one jab on your way to two. Okay, so Emma, why don't you catch... Well, I mean, Chloe and Giselle might not know much about you. I don't know. Well, why don't you catch everyone up with what's been going on? Geez, I don't know when. Let's give you some sort of time frame. I mean, obviously, you're in the running for Miss Universe Great Britain, which is just remind me when is it?
It's October the 14th to 16th, but the actual crowning will be on the 16th.
Okay, so it's less than 2 months away. Again, for context, Emma is a former Miss Teen Great Britain and a former Miss Galaxy UK. So I joked that she wasn't leaving any crowns for anyone else. And if you get the Miss Universe GB crown, you really aren't leaving it for anyone else. But let's start with what made you decide to enter Miss Universe Great Britain.
I've always seen the universe system as the pinnacle of a pageant girl's career, really. It's always been the last one. And for a time, I did really debate whether I was going to get back into pageantry. But at the end of the day, you know, I owe it to myself to chase my dreams. And I knew I would regret and spend the rest of my life regretting if I never went to Miss Universe Great Britain. And thankfully, you know, all the stars have aligned. I've now graduated from university. So that's a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. And I now have a lot of time that I can dedicate to preparing for Miss Universe Great Britain. And yeah, everything's going really well so far. And I'm so excited. And I've never felt like nothing has ever felt this right. So I'm just loving every minute at the minute.
Well, that's good to hear. Chloe, how do you look back on your Miss Universe Ireland time? I mean, was it a year ago now? I think it was about a year ago, actually. Do you look back with fondness? Does it make you want to, like, are you definitely not entering again, at least for now? Or do you think maybe sometime in the future?
It's a hard one because I had the best experience ever and I wouldn't change a single second of it. To make it to the final 10, to then make it to the final 7, to then make it to the final 3 was such an achievement for me. And to do it with one of my best friends, and for one of my best friends to go and win the whole thing, for me was just such a heartwarming experience that me and her shared together, and me and some of the other girls shared together. I bonded with so many of them. I had such a lovely experience. I loved my directors. Brittany and Jay Scott were absolutely incredible, so helpful. We had so much fun tasks, even though it was all during lockdown. We had so many incredible fun tasks. I had the best experience ever. And now I'm just at this point in my life where, you know, I had such a great time, and I'm like actually so grateful and so satisfied from everything that I got from my previous experience. Of course, there's this little like devil Chloe on my shoulder being like, do it again, do it again. But I think for now, I'm just still on a buzz from last year because I'm still extremely grateful. I've never really seen myself as being the main character. I never would visualize myself winning. And I feel like if I got to that point, that if I ever did do it again, if I ever did actually win, I think that would scare me more. I just really enjoy the experience. I love making friends. Yeah, I love just being the supporting act and being there for everyone else's journey. And maybe someday I might.
You did win the Miss Congeniality title as well.
Yeah.
So that goes to the most supportive person. So that's definitely true. I loved watching the Universe International show. Was it this year? Yeah, earlier this year. And seeing people like Nadia on that international stage.
She was incredible.
That was amazing. I still watch the angel, the fairy suit.
That was so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder where that suit is. Hope she gets to. Maybe she could wear it at her wearing. Wear it at her wedding. I can't talk early in the morning. Giselle, just before I circle back to Emma, I know that you judged a pageant, I think, recently. Any pageant plans for your future, or are you too busy being famous on sets and awkwardly asking people whether they're single?
Just to be clear, guys, I usually am more professional. I'm more professional than that, I promise.
So you send them a letter, or you send them an email?
Okay, before I get like super embarrassed again, anyway. I've judged quite a few pageants, actually. I'm going to Egypt in I think it's 7 September. Going over there to do some work for Miss Eco, and then I'm also going to judge Miss Egypt as a special judge as Miss Eco International. Furthermore, I'm just really focused on doing a good year of reign, for Miss Eco International with the pandemic going on. Yeah. Yes, so South Africa is also still in lockdown. We're busy passing our third wave as possible. Talks of a fourth wave as well, now with vaccines being rolled out and all that. So we'll see. So pageant plans are a little bit on pause till this year is done for me.
That's fair. I can't believe you guys are talking about a fourth wave whilst you haven't ridden out the third wave. I think poor old Melbourne is on to its. Emma and I went to Melbourne when she was here. Had the mother of all hot days. It was like 50 something degrees. It was ridiculous. But Melbourne is riding out its 6th wave, I think. and they're back into lockdown, and they're back with curfews again. So you can only go out between the hours of, I think, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Otherwise, you have to stay at home. So, yeah, I really hope that you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, UK, Ireland, and the US, when winter hits, everyone's vaccinated, because it spreads worse when it's cold. Everyone's indoors.
Definitely.
It's the worst. You guys would already know this, but it's the worst trying to get through a pandemic and social distance and having to stay at home when it's cold. It just makes everything worse. You just don't feel great. You wake up, it's like, why bother getting up today? So you just stay in bed the whole day, eat your weight in whatever it is.
I just don't want them to. I just don't want them to cancel Halloween again.
Oh, you guys celebrate Halloween?
Oh my God, Halloween is
you know
the
this.
best
You were on with
Harry.
us last year. Remember when Chloe had the scream mask? Her stepdad put the scream mask in the window behind her and frightened her half to death. That was, you were on with us then.
I can't remember that the country actually celebrates Halloween. I'm so used to South Africans having no idea what that is. No idea whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
You have to come here for Halloween.
I'm gonna have to. Well, it's been a dream. I mean, I was raised with movies, knowing what Halloween was from a movie, but never experiencing that.
Yeah, we love it.
To Scotland, because your dad, you said, was from Scotland. So have you ever been to Scotland? Your grandfather, sir.
Grandfather, yes. No, I haven't been yet. Need to get back to the roots, eh?
Is it your roots? And it's a short stop over to Derry, which, from everything I've heard from Chloe, is party capital of the world.
It's not that party. Yeah, at Halloween it is.
I'm in need of a party because there's nothing is open here. Everything is just closed. Even restaurants was closed until recently. So I really need some socializing. My Afrikaans brain is glitching out.
We have the army here, Giselle. I mean, if you go out, you could literally be shot, and you get. I'm joking. You get on the spot fines of $5,000 now. That's how much they're trying to keep us indoors. So there were these people who had, I think I told you guys last week, that they decided to have an engagement party against the rules. They were stupid enough to be bragging about how they were flouting the rules. Someone filmed it, of course, as all things do, found its way onto social media. The police saw it. Everyone at that engagement party, all 69 of them, 70 of them, got fined $5,000. So that engagement party cost $350,000 because people were too stupid to obey the rules. And they had the gall to go on the news afterwards and ask everyone to feel sorry for them, like for forgiveness.
No.
Like, you guys were bragging about how this whole thing, we don't need to social distance.
Yeah.
They said it was it's group therapy because they had doctors there. They had 2 doctors there. None of them were wearing masks. None of them were socially distancing. And then they was telling the news, we're getting hate. Feel sorry for us. I'm like, I never cast hate on anyone. I don't do that. I would never bully anyone. But it's a bit rich asking people to feel sorry for you when you flouted the rules. And one of the people commented underneath, I had to cancel my daughter's engagement party because of COVID, and I can't see my sister who's dying of cancer because of COVID, and you dare to ask me to feel sorry for you. It's like a no, to put it into perspective. But
I'm still waiting for a video from you just going outside and just talking to the army people, because be like, sorry guys, I need some
Giselle,
chat.
Giselle, this podcast only needs one person going around awkwardly asking people whether they're single. Okay? Stop trying to set me up with a policewoman or an army.
That would just be so cool.
You only take advice from people who've been there, done that. Given what you just told us about what you've done today, I don't think I should be taking advice from you.
Good point. I'm usually the bad influence in anyway, so good point.
How do you ask someone if they're single in Afrikaans?
In Afrikaans? Oh, the flirting in Afrikaans, hey. Oh. If you're just going to direct... It gets bad. I'm not joking.
It's not been good
That's
so
why
far.
I'm
It's
so
getting
bad
much
at
worse.
flirting.
I can see that. You're going pink again. You're going blood red. Just how do you ask? How are you? I'm not asking you how to flirt in Afrikaans. Just how are you single in a? How do you say that in Afrikaans?
In Afrikaans. Okay. What like a word for single? Is jy graag? Is jy graag? There you go.
Oh God, I'm not gonna try that. If I did that, someone would think I had COVID. I'd sound like I'm coughing. God, there's too many guttural sounds in there.
Yeah, people
I'll
are
look it up
like-
afterwards on Google.
I got a new little gadget this week. It's a DJI Mini. So it's a little pocket camera
Oh, you
that
got
you can use for vlogging.
Oh,
And it like, look,
look how
it's
cute.
very cool.
it reminds me of Wally.
Yeah.
It does a little bit. That's the one that you can go around, and it's got like a steady cam in it as well, so you can run around with it and it keeps the camera still, right? It's like
Yeah.
a gimbal. Yeah, it's really, really neat piece of kit, and it's
That's
so small
cute.
as well.
It's so cute.
Whatever you do,
Yeah,
don't lose that. I swear to God, if you misplace that, no one's giving that back, because that
And
is
then
an
there's-
expensive piece of kit.
Yeah, and there's like little mini pieces that attach to it, little attachments, and they're so tiny. Like, look at this. Like, this comes off, like these little attachments, so tiny that if
What
you
is
lose
that?
those, like,
What is that
Yeah.
an attachment for? What does that do?
so that just like, you can take that off and add like little mover things, like joystick things, if this
Oh,
is the
wow.
right terminology, like almost like a
Yeah.
joystick you would get on like a PlayStation, but it's kind of to move about with the camera manually. So you can remove that little piece of plastic and put that on instead, and you can also put your port to attach to your phone onto that section as well. So it's really cool little thing. I just
Weird.
don't know what to record.
Well, if you can actually
Inspirational
go
history.
Well, if you can actually go out and about, because you were talking about going around Ireland back when you were in Miss Universe Island and creating
Yeah.
like little touristy videos. So why not do
That's
that?
what I wanted to do. Yeah,
It'd be
that's
perfect.
kind of
That'd be
why I got
really cool.
it, to motivate me to do stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. I'd watch
Really,
that.
really cool.
Are you ever going to reattempt your world record, Chloe?
I mean, the challenge itself was fine, but like the stomach pains that I had afterwards weren't fine. And I don't think that's normal for anyone. So kind of
Well,
on the fence
just
with that.
I don't know if Giselle and Emma know what your world record attempt was. So do you, for our context, do you want to tell them what your world record attempt actually was?
It was the most jalapenos eaten in 1 minute. And it wasn't just like little sliced jalapenos you get in the jar. It was like full,
Whole ones.
yeah.
Oh no.
Wow.
Oh no.
She
No,
filmed it.
thank
And how
you.
many did I get? 11?
No, I think you got more than that.
No, I
the record
think it was
20 something, wasn't it?
No, the record was 15, I think. And I got like 10 or 11 or something like that.
You did really, really
why?
well. When Chloe filmed the whole thing, there was one moment in there in particular that was a bit cringeworthy. But no, you put me onto jalapenos after that. I've been much more interested in chilies ever since the whole
Yeah,
chili,
they make everything better, don't they?
chili and sweet corn. Speaking of sweet corn, Emma
Mhm.
Collingridge, do you eat anything other than chicken and sweet corn now? Emma is the pickiest eater I know. Has that changed at all?
At least she eats sweet corn, so
Yeah. I eat some broccoli now too. You can add that to my list of
Oh.
vegetables.
Do you actually eat it,
It's a
or do
good
you have
green.
to chop it up like a child and hide it in things so you don't see it?
A bit of both.
God. Here we are, like in Pageant land, where everyone eats everything, and here's Emma's like, I only eat chicken and sweet corn. You're okay with sweets, though, right? It's just everything else that you.
Yeah,
have
it's
an
just
issue with.
vegetables I'm not great with. Yeah.
Fish. You don't eat fish, do you?
Like cod, I eat. But
In fish and chips, you mean?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
quite limited with seafood.
That's
The
crazy.
first thing when I picked up Emma, the first, I didn't realize at the time how picky an eater she was. I don't know if you remember this, Emma, but we went to a Chinese restaurant. Now, if you're a picky eater and you don't like things that are a bit different, you can't go to a Chinese restaurant. Emma basically sat there the entire time and didn't eat anything because
I thought I'd be fine, and then there was like this crab just staring at me, and then
Ooh.
there was a fish on another plate that was just staring at me, and I was like, okay, I can't.
it was dead just for,
Well,
it
yeah,
wasn't alive. Like, so
Eee,
if you
alive
come to
food.
Australia, you have to, yeah. Anyway,
Doesn't
Emma,
sound like a
I've
dairy
got-
Chinese at all.
That's because dairy Chinese ain't Chinese. We've talked about this before, Chloe. I still want to try it because it sounds delicious, but it's not. It's just not Chinese. Let's move things back to pageantry for a second. So for Emma's Miss Universe GB journey, I know that you've just announced your. Is it a campaign or an advocacy? I'm not. Yeah, campaign.
Yeah.
So I'll bring it up on screen so everyone at home, whether you're watching live on the replay, can see. So here it is. There it is. I'll blow it up a little bit so you can see it. Emma, do you want to talk us through it? I have to confess I haven't had time to read it yet because I only woke up like an hour ago. But talk us through #Draw the Line.
absolutely. And so #Draw the Line is a campaign I've set up that really stems from experiences that I have been through as a woman. And so part of this, I've been working super hard since I handed in my very last assignment for my degree to collaborate with a self-defense school. And we're hopefully we will be running workshops to teach and empower women self-defense skills, but also conflict management skills. And they're going to go over the legalities of how to defend yourself, what you can actually kind of get away with and how you defend yourself legally too, as well as the most common crimes against women today. And then another part of this campaign as well will be teaching people about bystander intervention awareness, so how to intervene in situations safely. So teaching women self-defense and conflict management skills is very much a short-term solution to a much deeper ingrained problem in society. So hopefully by teaching the bystander intervention awareness side as well, we can actually galvanize proper change within society too and stop behaviors at the root before they escalate into violence.
Oh wow,
It's
So good.
I want to ask because the problems that you're sort of alluding to are basically largely men doing things that you'd think that most of them should know better not to do that. I know Amber Sydney, who Emma you met whilst you were over here. She's I don't think it's a campaign, but she was talking about men who stare at women in the gym and like record them weirdly. That sort of creepy behavior. I'm curious to know from like each one of you where you think that behavior, what causes that behavior, what causes men to think that's okay. Because I got to say, I have male friends. We would never do that. We would never think it's okay. But there are obviously men out there who do think it's okay, or at least, the very least, are still doing it. So I guess, Emma, from you firstly, where do you think this problem stems from? Because if we're going to do anything about it, we have to address it at its cause.
I think there's still very much a discrepancy between respect that different genders receive within society. And I think some men feel an entitlement to women still. So for me personally, this whole campaign kind of was brainstormed when I was on one of my walks during lockdown, and I was followed by a man on my way home that we later found out was actually known to police. And he had verbally and physically harassed other women. A lot of other women came forward as well. And I think a lot of men in particular do it to get a kick out of it. They like the fact that they can make other people feel insecure and inferior. So I think a lot of it will start at a young age with regards to, teaching about consent and making sure that all genders are respected and treated in equal ways from a young age.
Yeah, it's I could more understand it, the behavior when a man is young, because you don't know any better. That's not an excuse. But at that stage, they should learn that that's not appropriate. What I don't understand is, I assume that the man, who followed you, Emma, was not 12 years old, right? You're talking about
No.
someone who's a grown man and should know better. I seem to think what's missing is someone to teach those men that that's not okay. And
I think
sometimes
that-
what worries me is that men get together in groups and actually encourage people to do that.
I think the
that's
worst in group. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that's part of the problem as well, in that we say, oh, they're just young men, they don't know any better, and kind of play it off and make excuses for the behavior rather than actually teaching lessons and that will instigate change growing forward. Because if you're not told when you first do something wrong, you are going to then continue doing it because you don't think you're doing anything wrong, and people are always going to make excuses for you. And I think it's scary. What's more scary, particularly this year and the past few years, because of the pandemic, gender-based violence has increased massively, not only with domestic abuse, but also online and street harassment. And I've completely lost my train of thought now. But these kind of behaviours do need to be called out when they happen. And society needs to stop making excuses for the perpetrators and try and invalidate people's lived experiences, and actually step up and think, right, okay, well, what can we do to change this?
Yeah, there are Chloe and Giselle. I'll come around to you guys in a sec to get your thoughts on it. There was an issue here in Australia, which I was surprised to see, and I don't fully understand it. But when it came to, I think, legal cases of abuse or assault or rape, there were laws in place that forbade, like, you weren't allowed to name the perpetrators. It was I couldn't understand it, and it's actually going through the courts as I understand it at the moment. And the law seemed to protect the perpetrator rather than protecting the victim. And there's just some things which, in a country like Australia, I never thought that we'd have that issue. But and that was only last year. Chloe, let me come around to you. So in terms of where you might think the whole problem starts, and I'll come because obviously Chloe in Ireland, born and bred in Ireland, living in the UK, and Giselle in South Africa. It'd be interesting to get your guys' opinions and see whether it's different because you lived in different countries. But Chloe, for you, where do you think maybe this kind of behavior might start?
I think it's different depending on the individual who's carrying out the behavior. One thing that I've noticed is men gain a lot of confidence when they're in groups. So if you're a girl walking along the street and you walk past a group of guys, they will then, try and be funny in front of their friends. And that's when, a lot of verbal abuse, I find, can happen. It also depends on the setting as well too. I remember when I started studying civil engineering, I had several women approach me and warn me. Luckily, I didn't have any abusive behavior myself, but I've had several women who have. My aunt being one of the people who actually warned me off it, that men feel like they can bully women. And especially in that industry as well, if you're too shy and you're too timid and you don't stand up for yourself in that environment, then they just think you're a walkover. Especially if you're in a powerful position, they still think that they can walk over you. But if you do stand your ground, you then be labelled as being bossy. So it's hard being a woman in a male-dominated area. Also, when I was younger, I was 16 and I used to DJ. And one of the things I did was I did like a workshop with Radio 1. And at that point, the girls that worked for Radio 1 pulled me aside and they said to me, it is a very male-dominated area, and any woman going into a male-dominated area has to be able to stick up for themselves. And what Emma's doing is absolutely incredible, because there's all these women stepping up into roles that they are made to believe they can't achieve because the men are speaking down to them. So the fact that she's drawing up this campaign and teaching women how to stick up for themselves is something that's long overdue. It's something really needed, and it's an incredible idea. Emma, you're fantastic. And This is incredible what you're doing, and it's great to teach women that we do need to stand up for ourselves, because I'm guilty as well for being a walkover. I hate confrontation. I'm not confrontationable. So, something like this is something even I could benefit from, going into different, male dominated professions. It's crazy that how needed this is and how it hasn't really been done yet.
It's scary as well how the same attributes that we would applaud in men are when we see them in a woman. The women are demonized and dragged down for possessing those same skills and qualities.
I think I this is my hypothesis. I think that men who do that are highly insecure in themselves. It seems to me that if a man is insecure, and let's say you're in a corporate boardroom and there's a woman in there who can do your job she's a woman, she's doing your job, and maybe she's going for the same promotion as you. And I think if you're very insecure, those sorts of men are very likely to attack a woman for being, as Chloe said, for being bossy or even worse. I just feel that and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like if you're secure in yourself, there's no need to sink to that level. I've certainly not felt that need. I mean, I've worked with women solidly for the last 10, 15 years, and I've never once felt the need to not put someone down, because I wouldn't do that, but to even for 1 minute say that, no, you can't do this because you're a woman. I don't think I've ever said that phrase, because to me it just doesn't make any sense. There needs to be a better reason for it. So let me just circle round to Giselle. Obviously, coming from South Africa, I'd be interested to hear, Giselle, you say the same thing as Chloe, or you think maybe it's slightly different in your country, but what do you think the reasons are that men think that sort of behavior that Emma was pointing to, that's okay?
I think it's very complicated, knowing what the experiences that I had. I've been sexually assaulted. I've been physically abused, emotionally abused. So I think looking back, it's the way men grew up. It's what, the examples they saw in their own home. It's that thing of not having a good male role model, those teachings, a proper teaching for a man. Also influences from the outside. And I think, I don't want to stand up for men, but I think that there is a lack of liberation for men in all societies, I think, because if you have so many emotions and you've been taught to just be a man, suck it up, no time for crying, no time for talking, like, what do you do with rage? Them being a man, okay, this is all I know how to do, is to take it out, physically hit a woman or so, so I think it's complicated. And in my country, I'm not 1000% sure about this, but I have heard one of the cultures in South Africa, you are not in that culture seen as a man unless you have raped a woman. So when it enrages people.
Like I'm all for cultural acceptance, but you're hitting on something that's been in the news recently with the Taliban taking back over Afghanistan, and obviously their rules regarding women go back to, I think it's the 7th century. So guys, you're 1800 years out of date or whatever it is. But there was a female news reporter interviewing members of the Taliban, and they're trying to assure everyone that they'll respect women's rights. And it's like, yeah, no, everyone can see through it. But they're trying to do the lip service to women's rights. And the female journalist asks whether, because they're saying, oh yeah, we'll protect women's rights. And she said, will women be able to be politicians? The guy who was getting interviewed found it so funny, this concept to him, that a woman could be a politician. He had burst out laughing, and he said, stop filming. And, when you're told by a man with a gun to stop filming, you stop filming. But it doesn't surprise me, Giselle, to hear that there might be a culture like that, because I mean, obviously the Taliban are like that. Women will have to wear burqas. They are seen as men's property. They're not allowed to get an education. I don't understand. And to me, okay, you can say that that's their belief, that's their religion, that's their law. But what possible benefit could men get from women not being educated, apart from, again, you risk losing your power, because maybe if a woman gets an education, she could do your job better than you can. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say as well too. When you mentioned that initially, what do you think was the root of the problem? I think it all stems down to the ego of a man, and the ego is, being hurt, it's being affected when it sees women, going out, getting jobs. It's that man's feeling of not being necessarily needed anymore because a woman can support herself. And maybe that can be part of, the bitterness, the anger that could stem from their ego being hurt from us.
Oh, 100%.
Being honest.
It comes down to what Giselle was saying, and I do want to come back to this. Men are being ostracized a lot in current day society. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of it is not warranted. A lot of it is, things like the Me Too movement, pointing out people who've been doing the wrong thing, such as rape and sexual assault, for 20, 30 years and getting away with it. That's horrible. But as a man, what the issue is, a lot of men don't know. I don't know if society knows being a man or being masculine, what that means anymore. Because on one hand, it used to be, if you're a man, you're strong. You don't talk about your emotions, and it's your job to be the breadwinner. You bring home the paycheck. And now we're in a age, and I think it's a good thing by and large, of equality, where women could get paid even more than a man. A woman could be the breadwinner, and there are some stay-at-home dads. But I think young men, like if you're a bit old and you've grown up with it, you can maybe make a balanced debate on both sides. I think a young man growing up in this day and age doesn't know what it means to be a man. And I don't mean that in the be a man, suck it up. I mean, like, what does it mean to be a man? And I think there are certain fundamentals of masculinity that are being attacked, and men like to feel needed. They need to feel significant and important, that they're doing something worthwhile. If you take that away, it's going to come out in other ugly ways. And I think that's where you've seen, I know Giselle has talked to me about Jordan Peterson. He's a Canadian who's really blown up because he's told men, and he's not a macho alpha male. He's a psychologist, psychiatrist, Canadian, very well-spoken, but very articulate and intellectual. And he's blown up massively because he's just been telling men, you know what, it's not bad to be a man, but, what it means to be a man is in terms of you've got to take responsibility for your life. It's about how much responsibility you have to actively go out and seek to make yourself better. And there are so many men who flock to him because they feel like, that's what we've been missing, is someone, as Giselle again said, being a positive male role model. And with so many families broken up these days, a lot of people growing up don't have positive role models. And if your father was beating up your mother, that's the chances of you doing it, I've got to guess, are higher because you think that's what it means to be a man, which is obviously wrong. I'm going to circle back to Emma because Emma dropped off. She's back with us.
I don't quite know what happened there.
I don't know. But Emma, we've been talking for a while. Obviously, a lot of ideas thrown about. Any thoughts on what I just said, or Chloe said, or Giselle just said?
I think it is really confusing for what it does mean to be a man, like you say. And I think going back to things that both Chloe and Giselle touched on with regards to peer pressure and the people that you're around, I think that can definitely have a lot to do with how people then behave and treat people that are around them, regardless of what gender they are. But I remember there was a big thing on, I think it was TikTok or something, I'm not quite sure, but a group of men had decided that it was National Rape Day and there were different points. Depending on what you had done to women, you could there was a point system. And it's things like this that you just think, where has that come from? Why has someone thought that that was a good idea? Whether it was like a power thing, or whether they just didn't have a positive role model, or were confused as to what their masculinity and what masculinity meant to them. It's like Giselle said, it's a very complicated issue, and it can stem from a lot of different places. But I think if we can work to not only empower women to make them feel safer and enable them to not only defend themselves, but manage conflict so they can stand up for themselves in these kind of situations, but also work as a society to slowly change this deeply ingrained behavior, then we can make society a better, more equal and safer place for everyone.
Well, I mean, what you're trying to do is absolutely, it's admirable and needed. It's going to be hard work because it is deeply ingrained, and it's confusing for a lot of people. It's emotional, it's deep rooted. I personally, in terms of like action steps, and I was talking to Amber about this, the one who was in terms of the gym and random men filming you in the gym. We were talking about what we'd like to see more of is men calling out the behavior. There seems to be a lot of onus on women calling it out, or women having to learn to defend themselves. And you absolutely want that because you want to attack the issue from both sides. But I really think what we need to see is more men calling it out. Because if you're, as Chloe said, men and women as well, like I hate groupthink. This was the thing growing up in university. Group assignments became, let's do everything in group assignments because that will teach you what it's like in real life. No. What group assignments mean is that one person does the work, one person slacks off, and everyone's a confused mess in the middle. People get more stupid in groups. It applies to women as well. Women do things in groups they would never do by themselves, and men absolutely, like Chloe was talking, things like catcalling and things like that, because you're encouraged to one up yourselves. So, but if a woman calls you out, a man who's like that often dismisses, oh, you're being a nag, or you love it anyway. If a man calls you out for some reason, that hits differently. I'd really love to see that. I don't know if this is part of your campaign, Emma. It certainly doesn't have to be. But I really think the onus should be put back more on men, and men should call out this disgusting behavior. And I think that aligns very much with being a man, because part of being a man is, you know, if you have a partner, you want to protect your partner. I'm not saying your partner is needy. I think it's a man's role, part of a man's role, to take pride in the fact that he can protect women. Not saying that they need it, but they should do it. They certainly shouldn't be enabling it. So, and I don't know, I'm certainly not going to tell you what to do with your campaign. But when Amber said that, I just thought, damn, that's a really, really good idea.
No, I completely agree. And men do need to start being involved in the conversation, because it's sad that it's almost as if it carries more weight being said by a man than it does by a woman. Like you said, often if a woman stands up for herself, it's, oh, well, you probably loved it anyway, or I'll cheer up and smile. Whereas if that actually came from a man, let alone if that actually came from your friends, and you actually started calling out your friends on misogynistic and sexist behaviour, that's where it really starts. And I think it was when there was the Sarah Everard case. I'm not sure if you heard about that in Australia or South Africa, but there was a woman that did everything that we as women are told to do to stay safe, and she was still attacked. And the immediate hashtag was #NotAllMen, which, yes, it's not all men, but that completely destabilized a really important conversation around female safety and gender-based violence. And while it isn't all men, it definitely isn't all men, no one ever said it was, that do perpetrate these kind of crimes, we need all men to stand up for it and stand up against it and protect women. Otherwise, change isn't going to happen.
Yeah,
it is. And especially even in the likes of their group chat settings, when they're, you know, saying hurtful things about women, or bullying women, or sending photos of women that they shouldn't be sending into group chats and bullying these women. Be the man that stands up and says in the chat, listen, bro, you shouldn't do that. Don't do it. It's not right. What if that was your sister? Like, more guys like that need to exist, because for them to just gang up together and bully women, it's horrible.
Well, it's pathetic as well. It's
And
horrible.
it means that they're
yeah.
all involved, not just.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power in a group. If you, I know this is a show, so you can't really, make a point on it. But I don't know if you guys watch Too Hard to Handle. With those workshops that they do it in a group, a male group and a female group. And what you usually see with the male groups is, there's a lot of power between the brotherhood. That's when all the walls come down and they can be vulnerable in themselves. And then you see where the problems come from, and they start to realize their own, actions, that's correct or not correct. And that brotherhood of, I can see your faults and I'm still here for you. And, I can support you in that, it can be empowering, but, as Chloe said, it can also be very destructive, if it's done the wrong way.
Yeah. It's I think when you look at the men who perpetrate this sort of behavior, I'm not going to say they're never, but to my mind, they are rarely well-adjusted members of society. Sometimes, and I say that knowing full well people like Harvey Weinstein, for example, very rich, whether he was well-adjusted or not, who knows? And he was one of the main reasons the whole #MeToo movement took off. But I think society as well, there are a lot of people who just don't have a place to belong. Whether that's a church, and obviously religion has been trending down, so less people have that church, that family to turn to. They're not interested in school. They have a job they hate. They've had a rocky past with relationships. And when you feel like you don't have anyone, any family or anyone who cares about you, any place to belong, I think that's when you're most vulnerable. And that's when you can get dragged into cults or conspiracy theories or men, groupthink doing stupid things. It's because you desperately want to belong somewhere, because the worst thing in the world is to be ignored. So you'd rather do something that is wrong, but you're going to do it anyway because this group of whatever is going to appreciate you for doing it, and you'll get that love and attention. And then before you know it, you keep doing it and perpetrating it and bringing more people in. As I said, like my male friends, they're as appalled by the behavior as women are when they see things like that. I don't have any male friends who've raped anyone or assaulted anyone as far as I know. And that's, the men who do the mass shootings, for example, you always find that they were bullied. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but they were bullied or ostracized, and this was their way of feeling powerful again, because they had felt powerless. They were bullied, and it's not a good way of getting power. But I think this issue that Emma's bringing up, I think this is why I say it's difficult. I think it really is deep rooted and deep seated in society. And you're really going to need both sides to pull together for this. And I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because the only way a solution will come is by both genders, I believe, working together. Emma, just to go back directly to the campaign for a second. So in terms of getting involved or what your plans are for the campaign, can you fill us in with any of those details?
Absolutely. So I'll be running several campaigns with the self-defense school, several workshops rather with the self-defense school, but also over on at #DrawTheLine, we'll be putting up a lot more information so that it's accessible to everyone, not just those that attend the workshop. So I'll be sharing videos from things that we cover in the workshops, as well as the bystander intervention awareness campaign that will be all online as well. And it really is just, pointing people in the right direction towards the information, sharing the information so that more people are aware of things that they can do, even if it is little things such as calling out your friends. But that will make the world of difference in the long run and potentially, stop something terrible happening to someone else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's exciting. I just have this idea that it would be great. I don't know if anyone comes to mind, but in terms of men who are doing, I don't know, things like supporting women or empowering women, it might be really nice somehow, because I'm assuming that all of us have positive male figures in our lives, if we're lucky enough. And there are some women like Andy Murray, the British tennis player, Scottish tennis player, is very good at this. He calls out behavior that he feels is misogynistic. He identifies as a feminist. He's a proponent for equal pay in sport, that's a slightly different issue, because you could argue that I think both ways in terms of sometimes male sport versus obviously tennis, it's different, male versus female. But I think it'd be really great to give some kudos to the men who are doing what we were talking about before and calling out misogynistic behavior, because I think if we can get behind men who are like that and build them up, then maybe it's going to be less cool, in inverted commas, to do all those stupid behaviors that men sometimes do in groups. And that might be another way of doing it too. That the excuse, the one that really ticks me off, I don't know if there's excuses that tick you off, but it's a trigger phrase for me whenever a man says, "Oh, you should take it, it's a compliment." That's the one that really, really annoys me. It's like, how thick do you have to be to think that's okay for you to say something like that, or to film someone randomly in a gym and then try to get away with it by saying, "Oh, you should take it as a compliment." It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Terrible.
And
Very
that's the
heavy
thing.
note.
Yeah. And that's the thing now. Another thing to add to that is freshers is coming up soon. We get a lot of these very young 18-year-olds that go to university and they don't really have many experiences with alcohol, particularly women. They're putting themselves in some very, very vulnerable positions. And it's just them that I really worry for, and I really hope that they look out for themselves and stay safe.
that's a whole another can of worms, isn't it? Because there are men who go around with date rape drugs.
Yeah.
So when those women who are maybe drinking for the first time and don't realize that there are some nasty people out there, there are organized rings, at least in Europe, the ones that I've been made aware of, organized gangs of men who go around trying to spike the drinks of women. In fact, they're very smart about it in the worst way. They put the drugs in the drinks of the men that the women are with, because obviously if the men saw it, they do something about it. So they put it in the drink of the men, so the men are knocked out, and then they do it to the women as well. It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, Emma, you've taken on a rather sizable. Yeah.
Yes. Back to freshers, I think as well. It's just being aware of, it's sad that we as women have to do this, but keeping an eye on your drinks, knowing that I think a lot of bars you can ask for Angela, or there are several different people that you can ask for at the bar, and that is a code word for, I don't feel comfortable in this situation, please can someone help me? And it's just making yourself aware of all of these different things before you go out, making sure that you are always with a group, whether that's both men and women as well. I always found that I was a lot safer on nights out when I was with male friends as well as female friends.
Yep. It is sad, isn't it? Like we always say, you're going to a photo shoot as a new upcoming model, take someone with you. It's always take someone with you. Leave your contact details with where you're going. Don't walk in the dark area. Don't dress like this. Don't say that. Don't do this. Here's a code word for this. Here's a code word for that. This is why I really feel we need to bring men, some of them bring them in kicking and screaming, but men need to be on board with it as well. Because the reason that women are told to do all that stuff, it's because of men, because of what some men are doing. But it's weird to me that, in situations where that woman, Emma, who you said did everything right and was still attacked, and then some men feel the need to say that not all men. I never feel the need to do that. It's so self-evident to me. So of course it's not you. I hope it's not you. But get on board with it anyway. Surely you can see there's an issue here. Get your ego out of the way and get on board. No one said it was you. I really, it's like Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Yeah, of course all lives matter. But that issue that you saw was with a black man. That's why it was Black Lives Matter. You can argue afterwards whether it went too far or the actions of certain individuals went too far. But I never understood this whole, oh, let's stand up for women's rights. Well, we should stand up for all people's rights. It's like, you're so off base. I don't understand it. Sometimes I really don't understand. Okay. That was a really deep conversation. Someone say something funny quick.
Dad jokes. Yes.
Very Chinese.
Spago.
Shire. Liar. Tire.
Shire. Flyer. Tire. Well, we've been on for a while. I think we've been talking about that for a while. Let's just go around the room and get everyone to say what they're up to. So, Chloe, you're busy getting ready for the move. So, what are you going to be doing the rest of this week?
I'm going to Belfast tomorrow for a visit. I'm spending the night. I booked a hotel with my friend Brona, who is in my uni class. I haven't seen her since before the pandemic, so we are super excited to have a catch up and go to a sushi restaurant and possibly a rooftop bar after and just have a lovely girly catch up. And then I'm having a girly catch up with Amy in London at the weekend, which I'm super excited about. And I might take little Wally the camera with me and see if I can shoot some content. Not sure if anyone would be willing to watch my videos, but yeah.
Chloe, when you say Amy, you mean Amy Mysak?
Yes.
Okay, do everyone a favor. Stay off of Amy's Snapchat, okay?
I will, I promise.
Whatever you get up to, stay off of Amy's Snapchat. Otherwise, the next roast I do of you, I'm going to have so many videos.
No, I've never been on Amy's Snapchat. That's a different Irish Chloe in her videos.
Yeah, that's the one when the devil on her shoulder comes out. Yeah, that's looks a lot like you, but okay, it's not you. Right. If Amy pulls out her phone, tell her no, put it away. Okay.
I will.
Well, enjoy that. Enjoy that for people like myself and Giselle who can't do any of that sort of thing because we have to stay at home. So have a drink for us. Giselle, what are you up to?
I have exciting projects coming up, photo shoots and video shoots, music videos, a few projects for Miss Eco International as well. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, all right. Any more awkward flirting planned?
I had my fill today. I'm just going to leave it at that and stay single.
We'll have
clearly. Clearly the universe.
We can base it on cheesy pickup lines and see who comes up with the worst.
Yes, please. Just teach me the right way.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah.
Those cheesy pickup lines. I bet Danielle would have a load of them because they're kind of like dad jokes.
Yeah.
Just the sort of thing you hear them and you go, oh, jeez, oh my God. Okay. Emma, what have you got coming up?
Lots of emails. I'm prepping for all of the workshops that I've got coming up. I think I'm going to London on Wednesday for a casting, which is really exciting. And then attending a pageant girl wedding on Friday, which I'm super excited for as well.
So much fun.
That's a lot of fun. That sounds really exciting. Especially compared to me, because I just realized I don't have anything because I can't leave the house. So the most exciting part of my day is getting to go to the I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but when the last remaining thing you can do is go to the supermarket.
So if you can't go out, do you have to wave a white flag out of your window in your car, being like, "Listen, I'm just going to the grocery store," with a little white flag so they know?
Yeah, I have to put on a hard helmet, my flak jacket, my combat boots, my white flag, and then I have to go out. Yeah. It's just a supermarket, Giselle. The army is not there to actually shoot us. The army is just there to help, mainly with logistics, because the army is one of the few remaining organizations in the world, hopefully, that you can trust to do things right and be competent. Versus a lot of other things in the world that just seem to not work anymore and that just don't make sense. But
so they're not that scary. So you can go out and flirt with an army woman. Do it. Do it.
Yes, do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it. Not that scary. Wave your
Why?
flag and she'll know.
Like your gun. Do you want to see my guns? I think you should.
I'm so there for that show.
You know, the thing is, even let's say I take advice from Giselle, which would be a horrible idea, and go and flirt with an army person, which is a horrible idea, or a policewoman, which is probably even a worse idea. Well, we can't do anything. You can't go to anyone else's house. You can't go out to a bar. So what's the point?
You will at some
Sandra?
point.
Yeah, but by then I can just flirt horribly with just normal people. I don't need to pick on poor policewomen and army officers.
Just doing the job.
God, and I can try and that "Are you single" line in Afrikaans that Giselle did that sounded like someone's coughing in the back of their throat. It's going to be super awkward because they're talking about bringing out vaccine passports, and some people are on board with the idea of proving it, and some people are not, and it's in between, and it's going to be weird. I tell you, when we do eventually get back out, it'll just be socially awkward. I don't know if Emma and Chloe, you guys had that when you sort of things went back to normal, but this whole we've spent basically 18 months not being allowed to touch anyone or be near anyone, and then suddenly everything's back to normal. It's going to feel, I think, slightly overwhelming, isn't it? I mean, didn't you guys find it slightly that way?
Yeah, I didn't rush back to go to restaurants and bars and big gatherings again. I think a lot of people forgot how to socialize as well, to be honest. Just being so isolated for so long.
That was me too.
It's going to be some social awkwardness. So, Chloe, that's what you should record with your little new gizmo, or the socially awkward interactions that people are having in the UK.
That's a good one.
Well, Giselle has decided that she's had enough because I keep making fun of her awkward flirting. So she's disappeared, God knows where.
Did she really say that?
No. I don't know what's going on. So who knows? But Emma, thanks for coming on as our guest, and
thank you for having me.
Best of luck with everything. Keep us up to date with what's happening with that campaign, because that's going to be really exciting, and it's really important, really needed. So let us know if we can share anything or anything like that. Chloe's lost her mind. She's swatting imaginary insects.
I know, you can see it. It keeps flying past.
I saw nothing. You're just going crazy. Thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay. Emma, I'll get you to stay on for just a sec. We'll talk about with the audience, and hopefully Giselle comes back. But we will speak to you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder to you entrepreneurial types to come and join us at our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/the Pageant Boss. I'll see you inside and see you in the next episode.